Good evening, all. What I want to do this evening is do a little small analysis on the productivity using something called the total factor of production by the famous Cobb-Douglas production function. This is a tool that used to measure, as I say, productivity within a country. So I will not spend too much time on this, just make it brief. So this is basically the formula here. This is considered your GDP. This is your labor to the power beta and capital to the power alpha. And then you have the total factor of production. The purpose is to recast this, transform the information to find alpha and beta, to ultimately find the total factor of production. Okay? You could do further reading on this in this Wikipedia. It has sufficient information. Feel free, I'll do the link in the description. Okay, so I want to get straight to the issue at hand. Right. So what happened, I was going through and I was doing some analysis and I transformed the data and I transformed it again. And I came up with this graph. Now, let me explain what this graph is trying to illustrate. This graph is basically showing all the countries, 180 countries, that is what I was able to get data on. And you would see this line here. This line here is a median line. What it is really saying is that the total factor of production has been on the decrease, right? Not a major decrease, but it is on a decline. It was on a decrease, meaning that to some extent we have plateaued, right? And I wanted to just verify what has caused this to plateau. So I did a simple little calculation here, and I was looking at the GDP 2010 to 2019, and it had a growth of 30.30. Then I was looking at the population, and it had a growth of 10%. And then I was looking at the capital, and it had a growth of also 30. So what that means here is that the capital has been growing a little too fast, right? That's what causes a slight decline over time because of the increasing capital, right? But the nice thing about this mean is that there's a benchmark. So we know all the stuff, the countries below here is not performing as well as the countries performing above, okay? So let's look at the mean. So the mean shows that it has been declining and it has dropped over 10 years by 0.27 points, right? When I come up here now, I have this table now sort in the order of not as worst performing to best performing, sorted in that order. So Yemen is basically the worst performing in terms of total factor of production, 0.73, and Venezuela is behind them by 0.72. And you would realize we are seventh, poorly performing country where total factor of production is concerned. So we have a negative, we have a negative 0.58 points. And coming back to the graph now, you could see, looking at the graph, this line here is Trinidad and Tobago. So you could get a visual of how low down we are in terms. So our performance is declining at a rapid pace. Now I wanted to understand what was the cause of this. I went down a bit further and I did a little calculation and I was looking at just the numbers. And if you could look here, in GDP, and you would see on 2010, it was 37,933, and then in 2019, it was 35,696. So it had a slight decline over the period. But when you look at the capital stock, it tells you the real story. The real story is that our capital stock has almost doubled in value, but that has not contributed to factor of production. And I think that is a matter of concern for Trinidad and Tobago. If we don't get this correct in the next 8 to 10 years, we could be in some problems. So I was looking at the actions that are necessary. What Trinidad need to do is to do analysis on the current capital stock, obviously finding the stock that drives value, obviously, right? Sell off and or partner with the private sector to convert non-profitable capital stocks to profitable and convert it to profitable capital stocks. Also possibly continue to gradually remove subsidies on education, healthcare, etc. where possible. I know that is a difficult one, but it's something that they might have to look at if they have no other choice. Also, TNT government may need to critically look at investing in viable projects and hedge their risk from, for example, using option derivative type contracts. Also, improve the current infrastructure and provide the support for the private sector to accelerate. So basically, what we need to do, Trinidad, we need to get our act together. Things are looking good. However, the road, thank you to Fred Economic Data. The raw data, I will put the link below. And also, as I say, you could look to further reading on the Cobb-Douglas production function. I'll put the link for that. Formulas are quite nice. If you need further understanding of the Cobb-Douglas production function, I could show you the lead up to that, but you need to inbox me to see if it's feasible to share same. Thank you and good evening.